Simplified Chaos, episode 184.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to help you lead a more intentional life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian, one of your hosts, and I'm with my co-host and husband, Nicholas.
What's going on, folks? We hope you all are having an amazing week. We've got another great episode for you here today. Jilly, what are we diving into?
We're diving into just, I guess, reflecting over the year, how we've been using our planners, and this is our third year using it, and setting intentions for next year. So like a little nice like wrap up of all the good stuff this year.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking a little bit about goal setting and how you can, set goals for the year, and then also how do you, review those goals at the end of the year. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So we're excited to get into that. But before we do, we love to show some gratitude as always. So Jilly, what are you grateful for this week?
I am grateful for our afternoon fire we had today. I thought it was so lovely. Usually we wait to do fires when it's dark, but you had this bright idea. It was probably 2 or 3, and you're like, why don't we do a late afternoon fire?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. So you're just chilling on our patio and got Lucille outside running around on our hill of the backyard, and I just love smelling the smell of wood burning. So the fact that I just have this amazing new perfume on right now, just keep smelling myself, my hair.
Ravishing.
That was just this nice little fun surprise. And it was a very nice, sacred, slow Sunday. So I'm just grateful for the day of just being able to kind of be and not do and just chill with you guys.
Have some good ideas every now and then.
Sometimes. What about you?
I am grateful for the time that I got to spend with my coworkers this past week. We had our biannual company meeting, and they invited folks to come into the office if they wanted to. And I made my way up to the office, and it was just so great reconnecting with folks, and in some cases meeting people for the very first time in person. So I'm just glad that I have that opportunity, and it was just such an amazing day. Lots of great time with good coworkers, and we had a happy hour afterwards, and we did something very unique, which was we did axe throwing, and there was other games there too. There's human-sized Jenga and washers where you have to try to get it on the hook on the wall. So there was just a lot of fun, a lot of great conversation, and I'm just grateful for my coworkers.
Dynamite. I'm grateful for my coworkers. Lucille.
Yeah. She's a pretty good one.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah. She's putting in some work.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jilly, it's almost the end of the year, and we usually save this episode for the last one of the year. However, we have 2 interview episodes coming up here, so stay tuned for those. So we're going to wrap up the year talking about goals and goal planning and reflection.
Absolutely. And hopefully it won't be a snooze fest, It
won't be.
I know. You sound so professional when you're goal setting. And, of course, there's so much nuance to using a planner and what that looks like for you. And of course, this is just our unique experience. And this has been our 3rd year using a specific planner that we, I guess, are loving because we ordered a 4th one.
Yeah.
It's by a company called Ink and Volt. So if you've been hanging around us for a while, you probably already know that. But we will put the link to the planner in the show notes for you, just in case you are I don't know what planner to get next year and I want to try something new.
Yes.
Ink and Volt has been a pretty awesome, and I think it's pretty simple and to the point, which is why I love it, because it just asks not too many questions, but just the right amount of questions just to get you thinking and headed into a direction that makes sense to you and feels right for you. And it's definitely kind of helped streamline our values and kind of plan, back map our life around that. And I know there's an episode out there where we talked about back mapping, and I think it's a term that is used in the teaching world a lot, because I used to use it as a teacher when we were planning lessons. Like, what's the end outcome we want? And then like we'll plan everything backwards, like all the things that need to happen to get to that point or place of, what the outcome is. And that's kind of what we use these planners for. We set intentions for the beginning of the year, the direction we went ahead, and it's a wild ride on what happens and what unfolds. And then at the very end, we get to look back and see all of our successes, quote unquote, mistakes, hurdles, struggles, and see like how everything unfolded and kind of how our intentions or our goals were met, or maybe how they have shifted throughout the year, which is always fun to look back and see. And I don't think enough, people talk about just the art of reflecting and taking time to like really look back on anything, like whether it's the end of your day or like the end of a week or especially the end of a year. I think it's such an important skill that I hope that we model for Lucille, and she can kind of participate with us one day. Just the art and the act of savoring everything you've accomplished and just kind of, just being in that moment and appreciating and being grateful for everything that has brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to kind of give an idea to people like what we did at the beginning of the year and just some of the, not the specific questions, but just some of the sections of like planning for the year. The first thing that they have on here is called bringing your year into focus. And it's asking questions on like, how will you improve yourself? How will this year be better than the last? What would it look like if this year went perfectly? So there's kind of your back mapping right there is like, okay, at the end of the year, where do you want to be? So like, if you had this perfect year, what does that look like? Is there anything you want to start doing this year? Is there anything you want to stop doing this year? So if you have, some habits that you want to try to break or get out of, this is your opportunity to like write that shit down and like, really focus on those kinds of things, because this is bringing your year into focus. What are you already doing that you want to keep doing or improve upon, which is awesome. But then they ask you to do like a vision and theme for the year. And I think that's really cool. I mean, when you think about companies and stuff like that, they have visions, they have missions, values, and all of those things. And like all of that is like right here at the very beginning. And so like you have to, write that down. What are your key milestones? What is your theme for the year? I think is awesome. And then you really kind of like get into like your goals and like, you can write them down in there and then just kind of check them at the year, check your progress. But then there are pages for like, diving deeper into those goals and like, what is your action plan to reach those goals? What is the best way to prepare to reach those goals? So you have like obstacles and preparation that you need to write down. And then what's your motivation? Like, I think that's awesome too. Like, well, why that is your why, your motivation. So like at the very beginning of the year, it asks you to do all that stuff. So that's a lot of just planning and thinking that has to be done, there. But then throughout the year, you have to like kind of check back on that. You have your weekly goals, your monthly goals, and then all that kind of culminates into the end. And that's the reflection part.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite questions that I don't think they've had that in the first year, or maybe not the second year, but I like how for each intention that you set, they have like, what are obstacles that could get in the way? I think sometimes we think about where we want to be and like maybe how we want to get there, or maybe we're not so sure about the how, but either way, we're really clear on like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to achieve. But then sometimes we really don't think, all right, like what's going to be a distraction? Mm-hmm. Like what's going to get in the way of me doing this? Because we know like chaos happens, life happens. And there's so many distractions in our world today that can like, kind of be a setback. So I think it's really cool that they wanted you just to be, crystal clear on like all of the things that could get in the way of those and just like jot them down now. So that way, when they pop up in your life, you're like, oh, this is definitely that thing that's getting in the way of me getting where I wanted to go. And just being really aware of that. I like that they have specific questions just to get you thinking of, not only like what you want, but also like, what could be an obstacle to like stop you from doing that?
Well, that's such an important question, and it may actually be the most important question when it comes to your goals. There are studies out there that show that failure fear of failure and like, understanding those things in the way actually are more motivation to actually get things done than the actual end goal itself. It's just like, what does it look like if I fail is kind of a question you want to ask. And, and there could be obstacles that can get in your way that ultimately make you fail. But people who tend to be successful often think about failure a lot too. And I think that's just such an important component is to like kind of thinking about these things. And, one of the things that I realized and when we kind of get through this is that just because you set your intentions for the year and you're setting the intentions, and you're trying to look out 12 months and 12 months may not seem like a long time in the course of one's life, but to plan even the next 3 months is a very difficult thing, let alone the next 12 months. And one of the things that I quickly found, and as I reflect on this year, is that where I was this time last year when I was setting my intentions is not ultimately where I ended up. There was a lot of things that ended up, but like there were things that just kind of came up and I started going down some tremendous rabbit holes this year, and I have no regrets on that. I look back on it and I'm saying, okay, like these things came up for a reason. And ultimately, like for me, I feel like this year was more about continuing to lay the foundation that I feel like we started to do last year when we moved down to Charlottesville, and having some things kind of come up to help me build more like foundationally around health and stuff like that is going to be pivotal for me to kind of continue the goals that I had set at the beginning of this year. So I'm going to see some reoccurring themes happening next year as a result of kind of derailing almost what I did for a little bit. But that's what I think is interesting is that, hey, just because you set those intentions now doesn't mean you can't change course and then ultimately, rearrange things and make things part of your plan.
Yeah, I think the coolest part of this process of like looking back is just seeing what unfolded and how it led you either, in that direction or maybe in another road that you didn't really see coming. And to me, that's my favorite part.
Yeah,
it's just like, and I think that that's a practice that I think at least it took me a while to do, was just like to slow down and instead of like trying to plan my every move. And I know these are called a planner, but I don't really necessarily see them as like planning my every day, my every move. It's more like planning and setting intentions for what I'm dreaming of and where I would like to be, or, what are my hopes and like, I don't know, like it just, to me, it's like a way to daydream and like really put onto paper what's in my head and like know that it's believable and it's possible. Cause I think sometimes we hold all this in and we're like, oh, that can't be my reality. Like that can't happen. And I think it's a great way to like just dream and know that once it's on paper, it's like, this is possible. And where it unfolds, that's the magical part. Like there were some of my goals or intentions that I set, and it didn't become that. It became something else. And that's the cool thing. It like, something really awesome happened, but it was definitely not what I thought it was going to appear to be. And I think that's the beauty in reflecting, is just seeing like how you were able to let go and surrender to what the universe was like presenting you and the opportunities that were coming your way and what you said yes to, and like where that flowed you today. And just looking back, like, did I like what happened? Did I not?
Right.
Like, do I want to pivot or change? So I think it's cool just seeing how you surrender to those opportunities and just like, I don't know, let life lead you versus always trying to direct and control everything, which I think is really stressful. And I'm learning that now. The more I use these quote unquote planners, the more I'm able to let go and just be open and present fully to like opportunities that are coming my way and trying new things. So it's pretty fun.
That's another great point, because I think that's some of the lessons that we learned when we were starting out with these planners, is like reflecting on the year and just saying, wow, things aren't going as planned, but all these other amazing things are happening. Do I try to force something that's not kind of flowing naturally just because I wrote that at the beginning of the year and wanted that to be within the plan? And I feel more comfortable now knowing that, hey, I went down this completely different path than what I originally set at the beginning of the year. But the planner itself, because you do monthly goals and because you do weekly goals, helps you realign, even though you kind of go back to the beginning of the year and just saying, this is what I had. And it doesn't mean that you can't adjust your beginning of the year goals in your planner either. it's just being able to ebb and flow and really understand like where you're at in life, and things pop up, and sometimes you have to be nimble and pivot. And yeah, but this is what this thing is here for. And we've used it to our abilities there.
Yeah. And I like to say that it's exciting for me. I know some people may be out there and they're like, yeah, planners, nah, not my thing. But I'm telling you, like, it's this really cool ritual just to see, like, if you feel like you've accomplished nothing during the day, I'm telling you, when you have like a planner or some kind of tool that you have, that you keep by your, like, I keep it right on my nightstand. At the end of the day, I get to write like how I had fun that day, ways that I was able, just things that I was grateful for, like no matter what, being able to identify, and like a tool that forces you to just like step back and like make time to just like kind of dissect your day and just think about, man, it could have been a shitty day, but there was so much good too. And just to know that, like, I don't know, there's a lot of good around us, even though it may feel stuck, or it may feel messy, or just like there's like a really hard time you're going through. I think this is like this great outlet to like focus on all the good, and it kind of helps rewire your brain to like just show up in the morning being in the right mindset as well.
That I like how we've made these planners our own, because basically each week is broken down into morning, afternoon, and evening. So there's like 3 sections for each day, and I've relabeled those, and it's not really necessarily putting my schedule in there, but it is, I have a gratitude section, a fun section, and an improve section. And every day I try to put at least 3 things that I'm grateful for, 1 to 3 things that were fun during the day, and at least 1 thing that I have to improve. I know you do a lot more than just those 3 categories, but I kind of took your suggestion and like those were the 3 that I wanted to focus on this year. But I know you've got a couple of other things that you focus on during the day to kind of like get you towards those goals.
Yeah, it looked different this year, and I like that I get to see what I want to focus on each year, how it changes. So for each day of the week, I do write something I'm grateful for. It's funny, it did start off as like 3 things I'm grateful for, but then I realized I kind of just want to pick 1 and like write a little bit more about it. So instead of like writing 3 things, I just pick 1 and just go a little bit deeper. Like instead of just saying like, I woke up today, I'd be like, I had a slow morning with Lucille and we played slapjack, like a card game. Like just focusing on 1 and diving deeper felt a little bit better for me, instead of always thinking about like, I have to think of 3. It's just kind of like, I can just think of 1, just maybe write a little bit more about it to like have a little bit more detail about what happened that morning or something. Every morning I do write my top 3 things. So like whatever chaos or things happen that day, I just like to have 3 things that I'm like, I got those 3 things done and accomplished, and it feels good. So, and sometimes it may be not even a physical thing. It might just be, I just really want to like savor the day today, whatever that means, whatever that looks like in that time of my life. Sometimes it's not always like a chore or a physical activity that I have to accomplish. It could just be a mindset shift or a way of being that day that I'm like, I really want to focus better on just like being present today. So one of my top 3 things might just be like presence with you guys. And I, like Nick does, I always liked at the end of the day to write 3 ways that I had fun that day, because I think fun is so underrated, and it's so important to like kind of run the thread throughout your life, like weave it in everything you do. And like, I don't know, I think, and when I'm writing about ways that I had fun, it forces you to approach life like, I'm gonna make this day fun today. Somehow we're gonna make fun happen. So it's like a great reminder that, even when things seem like really boring, or like I'm like just not motivated, it's like, we're gonna find a way to like find some joy in this situation. I did start writing 3 ways that I give. I think that was really important for me after shifting from working full time and bringing in an income. I was like, I'm bringing in money. I feel worthy. And then all of a sudden I wasn't working, which is a choice that I made. I wanted to have more time with my family and homeschool Lucille and just be here together. I felt like, am I still giving? Because I'm not bringing home an income. So it was really important for me in my mind that I write down every day ways that I was able to give. And it could be a meal. It could be, maybe I cleaned, or maybe I took Lucille on this epic adventure today. So for me, that was something really important that I needed to nourish myself, is just reflecting on like, what did I do to give, and it not in a monetarily way.
Right.
And then I also recorded just nourishment, like how I nourished myself, whether that was like a good meal, a good podcast, a solo walk. Like, I think it's important for me to prioritize how I'm nourishing myself.
Yeah.
And that's been amazing. And then I do the same thing that you do, Nick. I like to write one thing that I could do better the next day. And I'm not really judgmental myself. It's just like, man, I had 2 glasses of wine. I didn't really feel that good after it. I think I'll just have 1 glass of wine next time. Just to like reflect on like, yeah. And sometimes I'm not really sure what to write. And if I don't, I'll just write, I can love better tomorrow, you know? I feel like that's one thing that I can always work on, is like presence and loving. Like, love hard and being more present. So, yeah.
Yeah. And being patient with Lucille.
Patient. Oh, all the time. That's what the nourishment part comes in. The more I'm nourished, the more like I have the bandwidth to just be all there with her and show up the person I want to be. So,
Yeah. So did you want to kind of dive into like reflection on the end of the year? I think there's some really cool things that the end of this planner asks for. And number one is achievements. You know, what about your achievements, and be sure to include enough detail to at least learn from them. So that's what it's asking to put in there. And it's awesome. It's got places for 6 achievements and the date you achieved those. So I recommend doing those as you achieve them during the year rather than reflecting back, because then you won't know the date. But then there's also a section where it's like just looking back on the year, and it's asking you, you know, a couple of questions here. And I think they're good to go through. And then maybe Jilly and I can talk a little bit about what we were, what our goals were and what we were looking back on. But as we look back on this year, it says, did you embody the vision and theme you set for yourself at the beginning of the year? What accomplishment are you most proud of? What didn't go well? Were there things that you wanted to do but didn't? And what happened? And then finally, what is the best thing that happened to you this year? Which I think is an awesome question. And for me, I just can't pinpoint it to one thing. I've got actually a couple things here. But Jilly, did you want to kind of take a look and reflect on your year here and show people like how to do that?
Well, I'm really fascinated on achievements.
Okay.
I think just because I hear a specific like school words like success, achievement, and my definition is just so different than I think what we were brought up to think.
All right.
I think it'd be cool just to share. Like, I'm kind of curious what you define an achievement this year. So, I don't know if you want to go first. I'm kind of tempted to hear.
All right.
At
So
least one.
I think that this kind of goes accomplishment and achievement, I think, is kind of synonymous to me on this one. And for me, the biggest and I think the greatest achievement that happened this year, and it's been a year-long journey, but I think it culminated at the beginning of this month, is taking our health into our own hands. And how we did that is we no longer have health insurance. We use crowdfunding for that. It's a little bit cheaper, and I feel just more, it's cheaper, but then they also allow for cash payments, which is usually cheaper in the long run, but it's also allowing us to do direct primary care, which is the way that we wanted to do, where you pay cash for your primary care program rather than insurance. You get access to them a lot more. It's actually pretty decently priced when you come and think about it, but like you get cheaper labs and all this stuff, and that's just the way that I've always felt that healthcare should be, is like you take care of your body as like you would your car. You pay for your oil changes, your routine maintenance and whatnot. And I feel like that's the same thing. It makes me want to use it more because I am paying it rather than insurance. But I have access to these people all the time with the crowd health thing. For the crowdsourcing, we have access to mental health care. We have these advocates that we can talk to about anything that's going on. So I love that I'm kind of saying fuck you to the system, because it's so rigged. It's such a racket, and I hate that. But more importantly, like, we found a way to live our values and to do things, I think, in a more economic way that is better for our family and over our health. But a lot of that started from the food journey that we went on very early this year, and it changed a lot of the way of our diet and the way that we were eating. And so, like, that all culminated there with us just kind of saying goodbye to health insurance as we know it.
Yeah. No.
So that's my
That's a meaty
achievement.
one.
It is a meaty one. And we can certainly dive into more of that because I think that there is a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, 100%.
What about you, Jilly? Thought I'd never ask.
Well, it's funny. I didn't like write any of these achievements throughout the year because honestly, I don't know what I guess I don't really know what to define an achievement until like at the end of the year and like really what are things that are standing out to me, and then I can jot them down.
Okay.
So for my first achievement, I just wrote building and cultivating a homeschooling community by just putting my weirdness out there fully and then planning together just events to bring people together. I think I did a pretty badass job of just putting myself out there, going to a bunch of co-op groups, meeting people, going to homeschooling conventions, like really diving deep into like what homeschooling is going to be and all about, and kind of trying to find our, people that we can jive with and hang out with and meet up, on a consistent basis. And I feel really good about that. And it's been like finding like another family for us in its sense, like finding people that, we can just be ourselves with fully. And, one of my intentions was this year was just like putting all of myself out there, my weirdness, my boldness, like putting it out there boldly and being okay when people are like, yeah, not really for me. And like, that's all right. I'm going to find my people, and, we'll find who we attract by what we put out, the energy we put out. So to me, that was like a really, really big achievement for me, was just to like attract open-minded people that are okay hanging out with me and they get me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that's been one of the greatest things down here is that we've built a community of people that are like-minded, share the same values as us, and that has to do with you really kind of putting your weird out there. Like it's really you. Like you've cultivated a lot of the relationships that we have down here, and I'm just thankful that we have this group of people that we have fun with, that we go and do crazy things like we did yesterday and go to this farmstead where the kids just ran around and had a great time petting animals, feeding animals, playing on trampolines. I mean, it was just an awesome experience, and we got to experience with people that we share a lot of values with down here.
Yeah. Yeah. I am also curious about what didn't go well.
Ooh.
What were the things you wanted to do but didn't? I'm always fascinated by the roadblocks.
So one of the things that I really wanted to accomplish this year was like learning survival skills. And I feel like the health thing and the nutrition and stuff thing came on very early, which this is the thing that I still want to do, but needed to take a back seat because there were some more important things that I needed to focus on. And that was really focusing on health and really my health journey. I don't have poor health, but I turned 40 this year, and I really just started to reflect on like, okay, where do I want to be when I'm 80? And where I don't want to be when I'm 80 is like having a bunch of health issues, not able to walk around or anything like that. And so I know it starts early, and I can't change what's happened in the previous 40 years of my life, but I can make a change now. And I know that the body does some amazing work as far as healing itself. So for me, that was the thing that kind of really took precedence this year, was taking control of our health, taking control of our nutrition, and the survival skills can come and will come. Like the next thing I want to do is I'm learning how to fish. I know I'm a 40-year-old person who hasn't learned how to fish. I need to do that. I want to go hunting. I want to kill an animal, and I'm sorry for out there for the people who may get offended by that, but like that's just where my source of nourishment comes from. But I don't want to do it just to kill an animal. I want to respect it and honor it and make sure that I use every single portion of it in the way that it is intended to be used. So like those are the kind of things, and then just some basic survival skills. Just making sure in case anything goes crazy, that we're able to take care of ourselves. I mean, like I don't know if you noticed, but like the power stations in North Carolina that are getting taken out, that could actually, be out for months in some areas. And so, just what happens if the power goes out and can we survive? And if it's like in a mass area. So like, I'm not an alarmist or anything like that, but I think it's always good to be prepared. And so like, that's going to be one of my main goals for next year is like really learning those skills.
Well, we did learn how to butcher a pig this year, which was
we did. I actually want to
really
do
cool.
it. We saw it in action, but I want to be able to actually do that. So yeah, that would be awesome. But what about you? What didn't go well?
So it's funny. Both of them are both things that happened that I'm still like figuring out. Like I hurt my pinky toe.
Yeah.
I apparently like fractured it pretty severely, and it's still healing, and it's taking a long time. And I'm like, something's going on with my body. I feel like my pinky toe should have been healed by now, but I'm also having issues with digestion things, and I'm in a rabbit hole, like figuring out things like that. And I think that's kind of led me to like empower myself to learn more about what's in my body, what do each of my organs and parts of my body do, and how can I better serve them. So it's pivoted me just to be more empowered on like, to know like what kind of tests should I get when we get our blood drawn. And, so it's definitely sending me on a path to like educate myself more. And that's the silver lining in it. Like it sucks. Yeah. Like I'm not running really. I mean, I never really liked to run in the beginning, but there's just certain things where I feel a little, you got to slow down, Jill. Like not yet. And I'm trying to embrace that and step fully into like, it's okay. And just that mindset that everything is temporary. This isn't going to be my forever. But it's been hard. Like, not feeling super, super optimal. Like I'm living with you, who's like the most optimal person right now. Like I feel my best. And you're like, you feel like you're on top of the world now. And I'm just kind of like, I feel good most of the time. Like I feel like 80%. And I'm like, how do I get to 100%?
Right.
So that's just been a struggle. The half 6 months is just like, what is going on? Like my body's speaking to me and it's wild. And, that's led us down some interesting paths, and we're going to be getting some tests done. I've been learning more about gut and taking courses. So to be determined, and just know that if you're in a health situation, I feel you, trying to see the blossom from all this. Like, what can I gain from this experience? Not like, woe is me, this sucks. So so I really don't talk about it that much on here. I think I talked a little bit, but it's kind of because I don't want to focus on that, but I do want to grow from it. And I'll keep you guys posted on what's happened. But that's kind of been, I guess, quote unquote struggles that I've been going through right now that are definitely sending me on paths that I probably wouldn't be on. So,
right.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. The human body, man.
It is. Well, it's got, those are goals for coming up. And like you said, we are going to get some testing done just to make sure everything's all good there. And hopefully we're able to get to the bottom of that.
Hopefully. Body's always changing too. So it's like even, fully functioning back then. And it's like, the body's changing as well. So sometimes it's not even in our control, or I don't know, like we may not be changing that much and just be like, what's going on? So I think it's important to like, just keep that mindset too, that like, the same things that worked for it may not work for it the next year or the year after that. So, like you were saying, staying nimble and just rolling with it.
That's right. All right, Jilly, anything else you want to reflect on here before we dive into our resources?
Honestly, the last question.
You like that one?
What was the best thing that happened this year? For me, it's just been time and explorations, adventures with family, just to truly soak in who matter most. Like that has been so wonderful. Like we've traveled, we had this intention to travel monthly. We fucking traveled a butt ton, man.
We did.
We saw so many good people. I got to explore a lot of cool places within the US. Like it was so great. Like it just makes me want to keep that momentum going with the travel, because it really does. It's such a great learning experience, like in the wild, just like on the go, immersed in different places and locations. And it's really cool seeing Lucille adapt in those moments as well.
Yeah,
And there's so many skills, like we've talked about before, that are learned in an airport. Holy shit. Like you learn so many things in an airport. So it's just to keep traveling has been just such a blessing. We've just looking at, that's the cool thing. I got to look back and write down all the places that we've been. And I'm like, damn, like we did the thing. And it didn't feel like too much. It felt like just right. And I'm excited to see what next year brings, what travel looks like, how often, what we're feeling. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how that evolves.
Yeah, I agree. No, mine's very similar to that. And mine was more of like building this community of friends down here while sustaining our community that we still have back home in Maryland. Well, back in Maryland, here's home now. But also like the traveling is another thing that I put down there. And then just, getting better health-wise. Like those are like the three things that I kind of had. Even though I asked for one, I felt like there was three. Those are the three main themes that came across this year.
Yeah. It's funny how like our goals and accomplishments had nothing to do with like financial things. You know what I'm saying? I think we've shifted a lot in just, I don't know. I think when you're younger, you're taught like, obviously money helps get a lot of things, but I think sometimes we focus so much on that we forget what's important. I think now it's like, oh my God, the people, the places we were immersed with, I think the people who matter most. So it's cool to be there and just to like know like that's what matters the most, man.
Yeah.
It's the people.
Yeah. Well, we've got like I said, we've got some more work to do. We're obviously planning for 2023. So maybe one of the episodes at the beginning of the year is just kind of looking at goal setting again. We talked a lot about reflection today, but we'll talk more goal setting and even just kind of give some examples of what our goals are. We've got a couple of great announcements after the new year that we're going to drop. So you're going to want to stay tuned for those. There's a lot of good intentions that we have for this podcast here. So we're getting really excited about that. Jill and I have been having, I think, a couple of meetings at coffee houses, just kind of talking about the direction of this podcast. And we have some things to share on that, which are going to be exciting, but you're going to have to stay tuned. You're going to have to stay with us. We hope that you will. Jilly,
thanks for being here too, y'all.
Absolutely.
Community is everything. And you guys, like, thanks for being here. And
thanks for interacting with us.
Absolutely. Like, it would be cool to interact with the community more. It's just figuring out ways to do that, because I know everyone has their own lives going on, but like definitely please do not hesitate to like shoot us an email or like hit us up on Instagram, simplified.chaos. Like we'd love to hear from you guys and try to be better interactive on the IG too. So we're just really grateful for this platform just allowing us to connect with really amazing people on here as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hopefully we can meet more of you guys like in real life too. We got to meet.
We've met quite a few people already.
Quite a few people in real life.
Whether people we've interviewed or just people who listen, which is awesome.
It's been really such a great opportunity, and can't say enough good things about what this podcast has brought into our life. And the people is definitely, a true at the top of the list.
This is who it's all about. We just, hopefully what we're putting out there helps a little bit in your lives, and we want to continue to serve you, and just making sure that we're putting out good things for you all to consume. So we do appreciate everything. Jilly, any resources today for our listeners?
I did find a blog post and I actually so the blog post, it's from theblissfulmind.com, and it's called End of Year Journal Prompts. I actually love The Blissful Mind. I have her newsletter, and I love it so much. It's just very thought-provoking, kind of like self-care things, just life things that just force you to like just set intentions for you, and to take like your health into your own hands and what your day looks like, and just to prioritize that in the mess of everything that could be going on. But she has really great journal prompts if you like have no idea like what to like reflect on or like where to start. And she has different categories. So she has reflection prompts for challenges and wins. For inner self, for wellness, for boundaries, for routines, priorities, work, environment, emotions, thoughts, connections, fun and hobbies, gratitude, goals, and growth. So I like that she has these array of questions that don't just focus on just like one thing. It like one of her questions for like fun and hobbies is, how did you relax and unwind this year? What were your favorite memories? And did you start any new hobbies or nurture old ones? And this just got me thinking of like, I feel like one of our new ways of relaxing, but also nourishing ourselves is like doing these infrared saunas.
Yeah.
That's been something
Sauna,
fun. I don't know if
baby.
you call it a hobby, but it's definitely like the priority is like health. But that's been something cool that's actually been fun that we got to do together this morning, which has been really neat. So
Sweat.
yeah, I think it would be fun to do it with like a friend or a partner too, just to pick a couple or, knock your socks off and do all of them. But it just really gets you thinking in all the areas of your life that I think sometimes we may forget about. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
cool.
Awesome. And another resource we're going to have is the planner. Again, we'll put that in the episode. We do not have any affiliation with Ink and Volt. We just really like their stuff. We buy it and we don't get sent anything for free for doing this podcast. We just are putting a recommendation out there that we really, really think that you all will get tremendous benefit from. Quote of the day there, Jilly. You got one?
I don't.
No quote of the day today, folks.
I'll put one in there at the end.
You got to check the show notes.
Sorry, y'all.
It's all good.
I was in a nourishment headspace today and not so much work. So I'll find a good one and I'll put it in there.
Yeah, sounds good. And take action challenge.
Make time for reflection.
Easy.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you like this episode, please do us a favor and help us out. And if you haven't left us a review, please do that for us. That would greatly help us get the word out there to so many more people. Or you can just share this episode with a friend and get them hooked on the podcast. And remember, sharing sparks a conversation. Conversation leads to action, and action is how we're able to live a happy and intentional as hell lifestyle. We want to thank you all for listening today, and we will see you again next week.
We'll see you all next year.